I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. What's up, world? Welcome to this special edition of I Mix What I Like for our premium Patreon and YouTube membership audience and community in particular to get first, and where we're going to have a little bit of fun, R.M. Brown style. Again, if I'm going to bite this heavily, I got to give him credit, shout him out. Check his channel, enjoy the content over there. We're going to do something similar here, but in, of course, the context of I Mix What I Like in Black Power Media and our work. So there's going to be plenty of,
oh man, hate, 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 hate.
And I forgot to bring my bag of I told you so's.
You got a new bag of
some
I
of
told
that
you
too.
so's?
Yeah, remind me to give you a great big fat bag of I told you so's when we get home, okay?
And in this inaugural edition of this little fun series we're going to start by advocating something somewhat serious, which is the after party concept, or as a way to summarize it, the Malcolm X voter approach. And the reason for that is that there is clearly a moment happening here. There is a zeitgeist, a shift, a change in the a change is coming. But if we're not organized and involved in producing that kind of change or shaping that change, then it will be shaped for us, around us, and we'll see that we're not really advancing. So sort of shout out to R.M. Brown for the template that he's allowing me to return to, sort of, which allows me to get back into some of my old, radio and mixtape days and have a little bit of fun and bring it to this space where I and he and others are really just...
You are a YouTube goofball, okay?
All right. So, but with that, let's go ahead and get started. Let's just see. So as I'm saying, we need the after party concept, the Malcolm X voter approach to electoral politics, where we have a set of platform planks, bright line agenda items, as the late Glenn Ford and Bruce Dixon used to say at Black Agenda Report, where we bring the candidates and the campaigns to the electoral arena as a block. And I'm humbly suggesting just a few broad-based platform planks that are really about initially creating a redistributive process for all the wealth and services and goods that all of us contribute to producing and distributing. So for instance, we should have a debt jubilee. Cancel all debt. Cancel all debt, which to me is more important than cash payments as reparations, improved minimum wage, diversity in the workplace, and in the military and state apparatus. No, a debt jubilee is so much better and bigger. Wipe out all of our debt. Prison abolition, release and treatment for nonviolent offenders, just as a broad approach. Reduce military and police. If it's not full abolition, it's a drawing down of the resources and redistributing them to other areas in society that would be more beneficial. A universal basic income, universal health care, free education, obviously K through 12, but all the way up through graduate and advanced degree work. Just these basics. And if we approach electoral politics that way in the form of the after party, which is always better than the original parties, I think we have something on here. But in this video where I want to start with this series with Sagar and Jetty of Breaking Points, with whom I find, very little to agree, presenting as again, sort of the new populism that is very relative to us, conservative, and I think less effective than it could be. But he is talking about a moment that I do agree is happening, and I want us to get more involved in an organized and militant way. So let's get started here.
One of the reasons I love working with Crystal is that she inspires me. She points things out or phrases things in a way that makes me think.
Of course, he's talking about Crystal Ball, his colleague there, Breaking Points. We'll probably end up doing more about that show going forward, but for now. Of course, no relation, at least not that we know of, between myself and Crystal.
And something that she said yesterday is something that I was really excited about for those of you who are premium members and watch our reactions. It's something I just could not get out of my head afterwards. Her monologue was titled Cuban 2024, and it pointed out all of these obvious things. Is another billionaire really what we need right now? No, probably not. Will Mark Cuban really be our savior from a policy perspective? No. But here's what she wrote, quote, "Our politics are so stuck and hopeless between two parties, owned by corporations and costumed on one side in fake identity nonsense, on the other side addled in conspiracy nonsense."
So one of the reasons why we'll be talking about, probably if we come back to this show and do these a little bit more often, is this is what they do. It's this false populism that is, from his perspective, of course, largely focused on the failings of the so-called left and false identitarianism. And of course, they have all of the leading luminaries on race and class come on the show to talk about it.
I'm for literally anything that would help to break that system apart. That's the part that I'm obsessed with right now. It's something I think is increasingly true. Right now, we are so condemned on both sides of political leadership, it seems nearly impossible to imagine any sort of real democratic consensus to be forged from our options. Take a look at that poll that Crystal cited. It sums everything up right now. On the question of whether Americans want Donald Trump to run again in 2024, 27% say yes, 72% say no. On the question of Joe...
And of course, these numbers are right. And this is part of the fundamental argument that I'm trying to bring to the after party concept, that nobody likes these folks. Of course, nobody likes these folks.
You're all a bunch of
Yeah. So everybody knows that
You're all a bunch of
nobody is excited about this, but it's folks like these and those that we'll end up talking a lot about in terms of the after party concept, who tell us we have to vote for them for the lesser of evils, to stop fascism. You all keep bringing us back. And when those of us advocate something leftward, we're attacked as being irresponsible. So this is sort of the problem. Like you all end up telling us to go back to this.
Joe Biden running for office. It's nearly identical. 28% say yes, 70% say no. And yet, those are our two most likely nominees for president. Let's just say they don't run, though. On the Democratic side, that means Kamala Harris is the presumptive nominee, or Pete Buttigieg. Kamala, the least popular vice president in modern American history. More so than the guy who couldn't spell frickin' potato. On the Republican side, I don't know who it would be, but whomever it would be somebody who had to endorse Trump's Stop the Steal nonsense. In both cases, the problem is this: they would not be capable of actually uniting Americans. While I believe at its core America's problems can only be solved by the policy, the problem that we have right now...
I actually agree with that. We do need to assume the levers of power over policy. I definitely agree with that. I also agree with what he just said about the proposed candidates, Buttigieg and Harris, not going to be exciting. Those are losing. That's a losing proposition for sure.
Is the inability to even arrive at correct policy outcomes. We have a political incumbency that shrouds their corporate-friendly policy in the veil of the culture war. Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema have only upside to gain from opposing Joe Biden, no matter the issue, because just being opposed itself to the most unpopular president in a long time is popular. Or, when Trump was in power, Democrats could justify and do literally anything because they convinced their base they were opposing fascism. In this reality, we have only one option: throw out the entire existing class of politician and do something crazy. This was the rationale of Trump 2016. Now look, it didn't work out as planned, but it was a gateway to our future. Our current class of politicians are obsessed with becoming celebrities with large Twitter followings who do podcasts instead of governing. To that, I say, okay, fine, screw it. If this is the way it's going to be, let's get some real celebrities who are both likable, but also have the capacity, at least, to unite us, at least in rhetoric alone, and discard the existing political class to the dustbin of history. There is a reason that during Trump's time in office, the only person he was truly afraid of running as a Democrat was Oprah Winfrey. That's also why I listened with great interest.
Me too. That would be a nightmare. But I think Anyway,
a recent
I get his
conversation
point.
Joe Rogan had with Jim Gaffigan, where he described the state of politics and he mentioned who he thinks would win. He said it was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and I agree. I remember many of you thought that I was cringe months ago when I said that The Rock should run for president, but this is why.
I think he's right. The Rock should run for president, if for no other reason. Keep us in vogue, baby.
Keep us in vogue, baby.
Rockin' 2024.
I see a world where basic popularity and rhetoric could solve a lot of our problems. Take Black Lives Matter. Imagine The Rock saying something like this. Yeah, Black Lives Matter. Also, we need cops. Boom. Culture war literally solved.
Boom! Culture war solved. Because that's all that's really going on is a culture war. Not class, not race, not imperial, colonial wars. It's just a culture war. And if The Rock comes in and says Black Lives Matter, but so do we need the police. But where I agree, and to his point, this would be the problem. That someone would be brought in like The Rock, I could see that, who would be able to symbolize, as Obama has done, an affinity for and a solidarity with the masses of oppressed people, black people in particular. And then coming out and, as Obama did, increase funding to the police and the military, and not stand up for those abused by the police and the military. So I could see that. And this is, again, why I want us, that I'm bringing this to us in the context of the after party, that we need to be organizing well in advance of any next or future election to say we need to have a statement of response, an affirmative engagement with this process. Again, it isn't to say that I'm certainly not arguing that electoral politics are my favorite thing or the only thing or even the primary way to a liberated future. But since so many of us engage in electoral politics and end up voting or being encouraged to vote for one of the two dominant parties, I think we need to be offering and in organizing and offering some sort of other kind of effort to give to encourage and inspire our people in our communities to do something else. Otherwise, we're just going to get something like this.
Solved. You need somebody so famous, so ubiquitous and above the fray that they are capable of connecting with people on a visceral level. It's very difficult. And don't get me wrong, from a policy perspective, it may not work out. The Rock has recently been cringe posting with Jeff Bezos. You could say this about the guy, though. He's just as positive in a way that we don't even recognize anymore in our politics. He loves America.
That's crazy. He loves America. That's always important. And he's friends with Bezos. But that's why you need people like me and like us.
You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
So that you can come back to say, that's why we need The Rock. So we don't have to deal with these after party folks and people who would want legitimate change. And
he's known by almost every parent in this country because of Moana and other children's movies. He's also one of the most followed people on all of Instagram. Now you might say, well, what is he gonna do? On that, I would tell you this. What are any of these people gonna do? I think we need to blow up the entire political system. And for the FBI agents monitoring this, no, I don't mean literally. From the ashes, rise the phoenix. It is not something that happens quickly. It's something that takes years to shake out. Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders campaigns in 2016, it opened the door to allow people like Crystal and I into the semi-mainstream, at least have the ability to engage on the same argumentative plane as the establishment. Now, something like that just didn't exist before.
This is the other part that always gets left out. Yeah, they have a lot of views and followers. This video is only like a day old at the point that I'm taping this, and it's already got almost 200,000 views. But what they always leave out when people leave this stuff out about the new media environment is that that this show, Breaking Points, originally with The Hill, is comprised of a crystal ball that has her own popular both congressional run in Virginia from back in the day, and then years of mainstream media on MSNBC, etc. This guy with his, right-wing Republican version of that. People who admit themselves that they were, I think, that they weren't, radically politicized, kind of like Glenn Greenwald and others until after Obama. So like they're new to the game, propelled by commercial media and mainstream establishment politics, pushed for a good long time on The Hill, a well-funded, sponsored, supported, still running with replacement hosts program. That's what propels you here. The to these heights and others to these heights. Joe Rogan, a long career in commercial media and UFC space, long before he becomes what is for many the guru of a new world. It isn't just that they are tapping into a certain political moment or a media moment or a shift in an environment. They are positioned to that by their previous allegiance and to and support by establishment politics and media.
But that was not enough for a variety of reasons. The next step is having somebody who becomes president, who literally has no connections to the existing infrastructure and blows apart the very idea of what is possible. When reading history, a great paradigm shift only comes once in a generation. Sometimes it takes a great war or a global economic depression. We've already had that once in a century event. And yet our change still has not come. People are waiting. They are literally more fed up than they have ever been. They are crying out for something else. I believe that something else could be the people's champ. It's a great campaign phrase. And I'll quote a man who changed the entire way that I once thought about politics. What the hell do we have to lose?
There you have it, the people's champ, The Rock.
Keep us in vogue, baby.
I get the point, and I see the moment that he's talking about, but this is why I'm saying that we need to be involved. All right, so there's another version of this I want to show real quick. It's from a discussion from the Majority Report show about Gary Chambers, a brother running for Louisiana Senate on a new and, as you'll see, described bold campaign. But again, from my point, this is why I think we need to be getting more involved as truly Black radical left communities in organizing ourselves and engaging in these electoral spaces, if for no other reason, to challenge the system and maybe heighten some contradictions and push things in new different ways. On this point and at that level, I really am feeling the general energy. But that's always the point. There is always a vibe of revolution and change. It's just an issue of how those in power manage it, and then as subsidiaries, how, in this case, white liberals or just liberals in general try to supplant themselves as radical alternatives and then sort of set the edge, limiting how far left we can actually go. So let's check out a little bit of this right here.
I think like what's impressive about this too is I think that's going to impress people is sort of people are attracted to boldness.
Right.
Check this out.
Every 37 seconds, someone is arrested for possession of marijuana. Since 2010, state and local police have arrested an estimated 7.3 million Americans for violating marijuana laws, over half of all drug arrests. Black people are 4 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana laws than white people. States waste $3.7 billion enforcing marijuana laws every year. Most of the people police are arresting aren't dealers, but rather people with small amounts of pot, just like me. I'm Gary Chambers, and I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Hey, I approve the message too. Absolutely. And that would be my point. We do want something bold. Everybody is engaged by something exciting and challenging and militant. But if we don't get involved in the context of an after party with debt jubilee, redistribution of resources going to the military and the police, drawing down the prison population, universal basic income, universal health care, if these aren't the basis of our engagement, radical redistribution of the GDP, $20 trillion created every year in this country, in the United States, that could easily be redistributed so that all of these issues that we all struggle and compete against one another for are taken care of. But that's how I would like to see us emerge and engage and challenge those who will tell us later that we have to accept the lesser of evils and bring us right back into the same place, because doing that, as I've talked about before, brings that in. There's a lot of money in telling people, Black people in particular, to vote for the Democratic Party. So let's not get back into another situation where I have to come back with another bag of these.
And I forgot to bring my bag of I told you so's.
You got a new bag of I told you so's?
Yeah, remind me to give you a great big fat bag of I told you so's when we get home, okay?
Because all of them are.
What a bunch of
And I'm here on behalf of Black Power Media, and I mix what I like to.
I gotta talk to the people, son. I gotta talk to the people, son.
So that's what we're gonna do. I don't want to tell truth to power. I gotta
talk to the people, son.
That's what I want to do. Shout out to Math Hoffa. All right, everybody. Big shout out to R.M. Brown, who, as he says, and I am, and we all are becoming.
You are a YouTube goofball. Okay.
Definitely support the channel. Shout out to all the patrons and the members of the channel. We really appreciate your support. So again, just want to shout out to the patrons and the YouTube members who are getting first access to this video. Definitely drop a comment, hit us up. Let us know what you think of this version of this attempt, and encourage others to join and support the platform. We are building projects for our first year anniversary to go into our second year and much more. So the more you can support, the more we can do and offer up an alternative that we desperately need.
You are here on I Mix What I Like. You may check us out on imixwhatilike.org, where you can see all these other shows and what my daddy likes and other cool things.
Keep us in vogue,